Okay guys, here we are for the third time. Unbelievable. It's third time that we are speaking about this time of something not serious. The first time was about the Pope, and the second time was about energy, but now a little bit more light. I would like to ask to our guest what they think about figures like Santa Claus, like the Tooth Fairy and Easter Bunny. A few days ago was Easter, and so I guess the Easter Bunny came to visit us. Actually, didn't come to visit me, but anyway. And of course, every time there is Arby Flesk. Hi, Arby Flesk.
Hello.
And Baron Ziggy. And,
Hi. Well, I had to give up my baronship when I became Pope, and now it's only appropriate for me to go by my papal name, Pope Benedict Spinoza.
I would like to say that unfortunately, Baron Ziggy, you are still Baron Ziggy. You are not Pope.
No, I'm invoking papal infallibility. I'm Pope.
I think it's a little bit difficult. In any case, Arby Flesk, you do...
I think he's an anti-pope. Can we just call him
all right,
anti-pope?
Anti-pope.
Oh,
Anti-Pope Benedict Spinoza.
It's Spinoza. But I guess, Arby Flesk, you are not the Pope awesome. I mean,
no, I'm not claiming that, no.
All right, thank you.
I'll let Francis do the job, you know? I'll give him a chance.
Anti-Pope, let's start with you. Do you believe, for example, on the Easter Bunny? Baron Ziggy?
Oh, of course I believe in the Easter Bunny.
Why? Does it exist, first of all?
Of course.
Now explain, I never saw it in my life.
Well, there have been many sightings of the Easter Bunny. He leaves behind his eggs. There hasn't been scientific recording yet, but I'm convinced that there is a monotreme out there that has not yet been discovered. But we're going to find it.
Because in Italy, by the way, my name is Conte Mario. I forgot to introduce myself. And in Italy, we do not have Easter Bunny. Arby Flesk, you also believe, I guess, in the Easter Bunny.
Well, maybe you didn't grow up with this in Italy, but I will never forget the number, 1-900-976-3636. Ziggy, do you remember that, or was it before your time?
Oh, I don't, I'm not familiar with that number.
Oh, well, they would always run these commercials during children's cartoons, which would let you talk to the Easter Bunny or Santa Claus, depending on the time of year. And, well, I never called it because I knew I would get a beating from my parents, you know, as soon as they saw the phone bill. But I always wondered, you know, I mean, I didn't believe in the Easter Bunny or Santa Claus, but I wondered what you'd get. Would you get a guy pretending to be the Easter Bunny? Or, hello, kids, I'm the Easter Bunny. You know, or was it just a tape recording? And, you know, and the commercial always said, kids, ask your parents before you call. And it's like, would any parent actually give their kid permission to call the Easter Bunny? That I don't know. But I guess I'll just never know what happens when you call that number.
Did you call?
And I think it's against the law to have that sort of 900 number now, you know, preying on children. It's kind of considered fraud now.
Oh, but Anti-Pope, did you call this number? I never called this number.
No, I didn't. Maybe they do have the real Santa Claus and not one of his helpers, but I don't believe that the Easter Bunny can answer phone calls. I believe it's a monotreme. It would be related to the platypus or the echidna because it's an egg-laying mammal. So I know most echidnas and platypi can't answer phones, so I don't see why there's any reason the Easter Bunny would be able to also answer a phone.
Well, I mean, it wasn't cheap. I mean, it was something like $3 a minute, and this was back in the 80s, you know.
Whoa, $3.
Which, today that's like $20, I think.
Wow.
You know? Oh. So it wasn't cheap. And that's why I could never call it, because I would get beaten.
No, I mean, yeah, no, I also myself, I will never call the Easter Bunny. $20? Are you kidding? But Arby Flesk, you don't believe in Santa Claus?
Well, Santa Claus was also worked the phones a different time of year. But I'd have to say I do believe in Santa Claus. I mean, I see enough of his image everywhere, and he single-handedly controls 1/3 of the disposable income spending in this country. So I'm going to have to say there is something, you know. I mean, Is Santa Claus real? I don't know. Is God real? I mean, what matters is you see people, you know, and their behaviors are affected.
Oh, definitely.
And that's something you can measure.
How do you measure?
Well, you could look at all the money people spend in malls once a year.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Anti-Pope, please, can I call you Baron Ziggy? Anti-Pope, anyway, do you believe in Santa Claus?
Oh, of course, of course.
And do you have evidence, scientific evidence?
Oh, of course, he leaves us his presents.
No, yeah, you're right. That's a stupid. No, you're right. Actually, I was 6 years old and I placed these ash trays of metal on near the door, and of course Santa Claus was my father. And around 5 o'clock in the morning, I heard this screaming from my father because he fell down. And so I discovered that way that Santa Claus was my father.
So you trapped him?
Yeah, I trapped him. And he was screaming. He was very upset. I was crying instead because I didn't see Santa Claus, actually. I saw my father. So,
well, it may be that your father was just one of his helpers.
Yes!
It's a very advanced network.
I believe absolutely today that Santa Claus exists. As a matter of fact, actually, I believe that it goes over North Pole, and in fact, they stopped the aircraft. I mean, the airlines. They stopped to fly on North Pole in that period of the night. That's important. No, it's true. It's true.
Well, of course, that's his sovereign airspace.
The only president that did not do was George Bush. George W. Bush.
Maybe he didn't believe in Santa Claus.
He didn't believe in Santa Claus.
Maybe he's one of Santa's helpers.
Maybe he is Santa Claus.
Maybe. Well, no, I don't believe it. What does he give in Santa Claus? He didn't give a very good presents to Saddam Hussein. But anyway, no.
That could just be a secret identity.
Oh, you're right. Maybe. You're right. And probably he is Santa Claus. Who knows? I do believe in Santa Claus. I believe that exists. But the tooth fairy, that's another thing that actually I didn't have in Italy. Do you believe in the tooth fairy? Arby Flesk?
I don't really know. I never really had any evidence of the tooth fairy. I'm not sure I believe in the tooth fairy.
Really? You never lost a tooth?
Oh, I did. But I mean, you know, it's not like there was a fairy. I mean, I remember a couple of them didn't want to come out, and so there was a procedure involving, you know, my dad and a pair of pliers. But, you know, it's not the same as the tooth fairy.
I see. Anti-Pope, do you believe in the tooth fairy? Anti-Pope.
I'm not sure if I believe in the tooth fairy. All I know is Santa Claus runs an enormous economy, and he's got to be feeding that economy somehow. He might be stealing and selling teeth for profit. Well, not stealing. He pays like a quarter a tooth, but you know, he sells at a big profit, and I think that's how he can afford this to run his present ring.
Whoa! So do you think that, like a root canal, when they make the crown, they're making it out of a baby tooth that's been stolen by the tooth fairy?
You know, I wouldn't be surprised. And
no
I don't
wonder
know
they're
if
so
you're
damn
really
expensive. Really?
I'm sorry? Why is so expensive? What?
Well, I was just saying, I'm not even sure they're fairies. They might just be elves.
Wow. Elves that... In any case, when I was growing up, I didn't have this stupid tooth fairy that I didn't get any money. I was just losing teeth. And that's not fun, actually.
No, it wasn't.
No, in fact, actually, my mother was pulling my teeth with the string. Not with the pliers, but with the string. It was awful.
Well, it's worse when you're an adult, you know, and they take out your busted molar. That happened to me recently. And you can just feel your skull bending and flexing as this guy is tugging with the pliers. And then the perfectly good wisdom tooth next to it, he's like, I think the wisdom tooth should go too, because I'm a dentist and I hate wisdom teeth. And then you go through it again.
Oh, man. That must be very painful. Forget it. Tooth fairy, it should give you $100 at minimum. Just for that.
I think I ended up paying like $600. Oh, you know.
Baron Ziggy, Anti-Pope Spinoza. You really believe that there is a agreement between Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus, or they are the same?
You know, I don't know whether the Tooth Fairy is a separate entity or he's just working for Santa Claus. All I know is that this conspiracy goes all the way to the top.
Whoa! I think at this point I believe that George Bush was the president was Santa Claus, because
he may very well be.
Oh yeah. That's the only way that he can make money, because he's
well, I don't know. He's doing his dog paintings now. I think he can sell that for a lot of money.
Dog paintings?
Yeah, that's what he does. That's what he does now that he's retired. He paints pictures of dogs.
Oh, so it's dog like Dick Cheney, like his ministers probably with the face. I must say true. I mean, I wish very much to have the Tooth Fairy and the Easter Bunny, but I did not have it. And Santa Claus, of course, is my hero. And I know probably it's George Bush, but who cares? Still is my hero. It's an incredible, fantastic business in all the planet again. Do you think that? This type of figures will continue forever? I mean, we will have forever Santa Claus even in 2,000 years after.
I don't know. Could be that he's an immortal being, or it could just be a dynasty. Maybe Santa Claus is just a title that gets passed down from generation to generation.
Oh, there is always a George Bush for each generation, at least one.
Oh, that's a good connection.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you're onto something.
Yeah, absolutely. RB Flask, do you think that we will have Santa Claus in 200 years, for example?
I think we'll probably have a successor figure. I mean, all these figures come out of earlier beliefs. I mean, the Easter Bunny, it's kind of lame, compared to, the goddess Astarte, who gives the holiday Easter its name, I mean, but they'll be around in some form or another. I mean, Santa Claus, to me, looks an awful lot like, Saturn, and Christmas was Saturnalia once. So I think there will always be some successor figure to these creatures. They fill a need. I mean, Santa Claus, a lot of people use him as, a figure for children's moral development, and that's not going to go away.
Well, but I don't believe it, because in Star Trek, I never saw Santa Claus or the Tooth Fairy or the Easter Bunny.
Well, in Star Trek, I assume they have some less painful thing than teeth falling out. I don't know. Maybe they replicate you, adult teeth, when it's your time. I don't even know how it works in Star Trek.
Maybe they phase them out.
I mean, maybe in Star Trek it's all like John Lennon, imagine there's no heaven, or Santa Claus,
Oh, no, come on. And then,
I don't know, maybe Q is Santa Claus.
Oh, Q can be anything. You're right.
Well,
yeah.
Q strikes me more as part, a Loki type figure, or, the trickster figure. Like African Spider, or, like the Navajo Coyote figure, he's one of those.
No, you're right. I think that you can be Santa Claus, Tooth Fairy, and also Easter Bunny, all three.
Hey, if that show was still running and you suggested it, they might make an episode where Q does that. I mean, they've made sillier episodes.
Star Wars also doesn't have Santa Claus, Tooth Fairy, and Easter Bunny. I mean, also that, it's very puzzling to me. Well,
Star Wars has a very interesting view of religion. The only religion you're even shown in the Star Wars series is the Jedi belief system and its sectarian offshoot, the Sith, and their frequent battles. I mean, was it the second episode where, the Jedi are going to arrest the Chancellor, and he points out that they have freedom of religion in their empire, and the Jedi, they just don't care? But I mean, that's the view of religion you're seeing in Star Wars, is that there's this conflict between the Jedi faith and one of its own sects. That's all you're allowed to see.
Oh, that's disappointing. I mean,
well, there's also
the main plot arc of the thing.
What were you saying?
Wookiees have their Wookiee religion. They celebrate Life Day.
Oh yeah, did you watch that? That was great.
Oh, parts of it.
Half an hour of Wookiees watching television with no subtitles.
That's what they do.
We could have at least had subtitles, so we could have understood the Wookiee shows.
Oh.
Yeah, I wonder why they didn't put subtitles in the original trilogy. I wonder what, Chewie was really saying.
Oh.
Whoa! He was probably saying, Chewie, is that you? He's probably saying, no, Han, it's the other Wookiee. Duh.
There were two Wookiees.
Well,
Were they twins?
I don't know.
I'll be flask. This sounds much more like Spaceballs, not Star Wars. Come on. Do you believe in other fantasy figures? That or you like to have some other figures? For 4th of July, some Captain American type. I mean, that.
Captain America's real. He punched Hitler in the face.
Oh, you're right.
That's what makes him the best superhero ever.
Do you believe in other fantasy figures or you would like to have some? Would you like to be a fantasy figure yourself? I mean, Arby Flask, what do you think?
I don't think that anyone could be those fantasy figures, really. But I mean, a lot of people create those myths and do quite well. I mean, look at what Hallmark did with Mother's Day. I mean, Coke made a lot of money off the Santa Claus thing, and pretty much every musician of account eventually has to go and record an album and sing songs about Santa Claus. It's like a law, I mean, I think it's commercially viable creating these figures, which is one of the reasons they're here. But, I mean, I think as far as being one or being involved with one, there's a dark side to it, Like, do you remember last Easter, did you happen to go to Google's webpage at all?
No, what happened?
Well, Google had a doodle of, Cesar Chavez's birthday, which makes sense because it was Cesar Chavez's birthday, and that is a state holiday. And that's a state holiday in California, right?
Yeah.
Then all my Christian American friends got all really, really angry because they didn't see an Easter bunny up there. They're like, oh, this is a communist evil conspiracy that they're not giving us an Easter bunny, and and if you're talking violent revolution because you're not getting your Easter bunny, at some point we're having too much fun and we need to just calm down.
No, I remember now. You're right. There was, I didn't know about this controversy about Easter bunny, but
well, it's anti-American to not have an Easter bunny, and I think, if you're getting yourself all angry and stuff like this, maybe that's part of the problem that our country really has. Maybe we need less mythological figures and more, being responsible and caring towards each other, and being loyal towards our country, and that sort of thing.
That's great. I like that. But in any case, we don't have many mythological figures, Arby Flask.
I think there's probably some others lurking.
In Italy, we have the good witch. It's called Befana. It comes on between the 9th, 5th, and 6th, and gives nice presents to kids. To compensate the failure of Santa Claus. So there is, don't worry, there is Befana. And so that is the only one figure fantasy, but also in the United States you have only these three, and that's it.
Is there a bad witch too?
Oh, really? What type of bad witch?
I don't know. I was just thinking because when there's a good witch, there's usually also a bad witch.
No, come on. Santa Claus is an anti-Santa Claus. For the Pope, there is anti-Pope. That is you, Baron Ziggy.
Of course.
But for Santa Claus, do you have an anti-Santa Claus? I don't think so.
Well, it depends. In the German countries, there's Schwarzenpeter who, brings bad kids like a stick for their parents to beat them with, right?
Oh, man.
Well, isn't there also the Krampus?
Yeah, same thing, right?
Oh, I don't know.
Whatever this Germanic figure is. The Germans have an anti-Santa.
They would.
Whoa! Yeah, because they're Germans. We Italians don't like very much Germans, I'll tell you immediately.
Well, you can't be too mean to them because they have to bail you out.
Well, with the political situation today was a disaster. But I'm not going to Italian political situation because it's awful. It's ridiculous. No, I mean, anti-Pope. So do you have anti-Pope, Spinoza, Baron Ziggy? Do you have, other mythological figures besides these three ones?
Well, being a Jewish anti-Pope, when I grew up in Passover, every Passover Seder, Elijah the prophet would come by. He's invisible, of course. So the kids, they would leave, the adults would leave a glass of wine on the table, and then the kids would go out and open the door for Elijah, who, of course, as I mentioned, has the powers of invisibility. And then when we got back, the wine was gone. There's no other possible explanation.
Wow.
Wow.
No, there isn't. I couldn't figure it out either. That's really amazing.
No, I would like to be Elijah. What type of wine? I mean, right?
Usually pretty terrible.
Yeah, like the Manischewitz.
Oh, no,
It's pretty much like cough syrup.
No, Elijah can have it. I don't want it.
Yeah, sort of like Jaeger, only with more grape flavor and less alcohol.
No.
More sugar.
Let's put a Brunello e Montalcino, or Chianti, or Barbera, Barolo, and then I will become Elijah. No problem. And I will become invisible too. There is no problem.
How will you pull that off?
I'll take the invisibility cloth from Harry Potter, and then I will go and I will take the wine.
You could just visit Hasidic residences and you get Sliowitz instead.
What? Lies?
Yeah, some of the Eastern European Jews like Sliowitz, plum brandy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, perhaps, you could go be Elijah when they have a festival, and then you can, boy, that stuff is serious.
Very strong?
Oh, yeah. I think you could probably put it in your car's gas tank and it would probably work just fine.
Well, that's another idea for energy, perhaps. I don't believe for that type of wine, I don't want to be Elijah. I don't know, Baron Ziggy, I'm sorry, Antipope Spinoza.
That's all right, my son, I forgive you.
Thank you very much. But I thought that you were... So you don't want to be Elijah, for example, Antipope?
Oh, that would be a lot of fun, but I can't become invisible.
Yeah, but you're a pope, correct? You have a power to do that.
He could be like, I am invisible, my son. You cannot see me at all.
Oh, yeah, papal infallibility.
Yes, exactly.
There we go.
No, exactly. Anti-papal infallibility. I'm sorry, being Italian, and always I am very, very attached to this type of things. Will you connect? We already connected to Bush to Santa Claus. So the political aspect of this fantasy people. So Bush, we found out, is Santa Claus, correct?
I would not be at all surprised.
He brought every good boy and girl a $300 tax rebate, so I'm going to say yeah.
All right. All right. No.
That's incontrovertible.
Yes, absolutely. But he's not bringing pretzels. I bet he's not giving pretzels.
No, I don't think he'll be too happy if you leave those in his stocking.
No, exactly. I don't think so. But anyway, Easter Bunny? Who do you think is Easter Bunny?
I don't know. I think the Easter Bunny is probably Australian because it's an egg-laying mammal. So maybe, who's Australian? Rupert Murdoch?
Murdoch is
Isn't he Australian?
God, maybe he got rich by running that phone number.
Oh, yes!
So it wasn't the Easter Bunny, it was Rupert Murdoch.
Yes! Yes, definitely. That's definitely Rupert Murdoch.
That's where all that money went.
Huh.
Oh.
Bastardo. So anyway, okay. But who is the Tooth Fairy?
I don't know. I still think it might be one of Santa's elves. I think he's just running that tooth ring.
But the Tooth Fairy is, wait a second, is it female or is...
I think it can be, I think the Tooth Fairy could be male or female as long as he or she wears a tutu and wings.
I don't know. RB Flesh, what do you think is the Tooth, do you think is the Tooth Fairy?
Honestly, I probably visited him in one of his guises. It's probably the dude who charged me $600 to pull a molar in a wisdom tooth.
Oh, that would make sense for the Tooth Fairy to be a dentist.
Oh, yeah, some dentist. Some big dentist guy, I don't know, is now, I mean, I think also Santa Claus for us is Silvio Berlusconi. There is no question about in my mind that Silvio Berlusconi is Santa Claus.
But doesn't he only give presents to the parliament?
Correct. That's why, yeah, exactly, to all the opposition, so he receives the votes, and that gives money to every, and to women, different women. That's why Santa Claus, I mean. But, would you like to meet this fantasy fantasy people one of these days in your life, in reality. So meet Santa Claus, for example.
I don't know. I think if I met Santa Claus, I'd tell him that I think we should split Christmas up into 6 smaller sub-celebrations for economic reasons. Then we wouldn't need such big parking lots in the malls, and we could have more, wildlife. And instead of a few people working temporary jobs some of the year, we could provide stable salaried retail positions, which would allow people, to actually, be part of a middle-class economy. But seriously, my beef with Santa, I just don't think it's right to lie to children.
What will you say to
I would say that you, sir, Mr. Santa Claus, encourage overconsumption. You encourage children to believe that the better off among them are morally more outstanding than those who have little material possessions, and you're basically promoting an American class system.
Oh, so it's a class-oriented. Auntie Pope, what will you say? Would you like to meet Santa Claus, for example, or the Easter Bunny or the Tooth Fairy? And what will you say to these people, for example, Santa Claus?
I don't know. I would love to go on a wildlife tour and maybe find the Easter Bunny. As far as Santa, I don't know. I thought it was George W. Bush, but now that I think about it, with the rich people getting better presents, I think that Santa Claus might be Ron Paul. I think he believes that. Or some Ayn Rand follower. The rich are more moral. That's why they got rich.
Oh, I see. Well, Ron Paul, yeah, I don't want to meet, of course, Santa Claus because I hate Berlusconi. He gives, again, a very, very rich, a very, very expensive presents to rich people, or not to me. So, and then after that shocking experience that I had when I was 6 years old, definitely I don't want to meet any more than Santa Claus. I don't know if you want to add some other things, because I think we did it quite well this time. I think that actually I thought was going to be funnier. Instead, again, we had a very serious conversation. Anyway, RB Flask, last thought?
I don't know where to go with this. I think that, a lot of I think a lot of these myths are destructive. I think they have positive aspects. But, we've always got to look at the cost. And what I liked about 1-900-976-3636 was that it straight up said, this is a scam to steal people's money. And I appreciated the honesty. We don't have that anymore,
No, you're right. And Anti-Pope, Benedict Spinoza, last thought, if you have it.
I would advise all the members of my flock to be vigilant and don't just leave your teeth under the pillow in exchange for, quarters. They're worth a lot more than you think. And, you can't just give the Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus all of this financial backing. You need to sell your teeth on the open market. You'll get a lot more for them, trust me.
eBay bans human body part sales, though.
Really?
Oh, does it?
Yeah, they're part of the con. They're part of the con.
Oh,
so maybe I should start a T-Bay.
T-Bay.
You should.
That's a good idea, T-Bay. Yeah.
Tooth exchange.
Tooth exchange, yes. My last thought is, to place these three figures, at least Santa Claus, in one episode of Star Trek. Well, thank you very much, RB Flask, as usual. Wonderful inputs. And,
it was good being here. Thank you.
And thank you very much, Anti-Pope Benedict Spinoza, Baron Ziggy, for your wonderful insights. See you.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Goodbye to all our faithful listeners.
All right. In fact, we will have this on podcast and YouTube, and have a wonderful, wonderful, happy time with your fantasies.
Bye.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Ciao.